Freddy's era where human beings were like robots, right? But then, and that's kind of how it was. Like it was just, depressing. You don't get your pudding until you eat your meat kind of environment. And then they did some really interesting experiments. So a company called General Electric, or GE, they had this great idea. They went, okay, if we could prove that bright lights in the workplace made people work harder and be more productive, think of how many light bulbs we could sell. Right? So they were like, we got to prove this. We got to prove that this works. So they actually hired a bunch of scientists from MIT and Harvard, and they just started experimenting on teams of female factory workers. And so they, mess with the lights. And every day they would mess with the lights. They did this to like 21,000 people. They just tweaked the lights. And this is what they found out. They found out that it didn't matter what they did to the lights. It had no effect on productivity. They could turn them up, they could turn them down, it didn't matter. The only time that productivity changed was when they walked in the room and they said, hey ladies, we're changing the lights today so that you'll be more productive. We hope you like it. And then they walked out of the room, they did not change the lights, and productivity soared. And I know you guys are like, wow, that kind of makes sense. But this was like seriously revolutionary. Then they started playing with things like when the coffee break was and stuff like that, and none of it mattered. All that mattered was when managers went in and expressed concern. And that's when all of management changed, right? Workers were trying to please the researchers regardless of conditions. And this basically was the last straw for Taylorism, right? And we as managers stopped being these like uptight bean counters, auditors, taskmasters. Instead, what we became is human relations managers. The workplace became a social system, right? And worker productivity became married to worker culture, and the words corporate culture and company culture were born. So Mary Parker Follett, she's like a management hero that no one ever hears about, right? But this woman is a superstar and would have been an amazing tech company CEO. She saw business as a cooperative undertaking in which owners and laborers have a common interest, the success of their business. By including employees in the process, productivity would soar because employees wouldn't be obeying commands, right? Because they were told to do so. They would be working and working hard because they wanted to, because it's a process that they were involved in. So people would be responsible for their own work, not to someone. This is like amazing stuff, and we sort of take it for granted now, but can you imagine going from being a factory worker to an environment where you're actually invited to the table and you get to have a say in your process? I mean, this is like revolutionary stuff. And so I think that the CEO that does the best job today of describing how to imbue your company with that is a guy named Tony Hsieh, and he's the CEO of Zappos. And his book, Delivering Happiness, is something that every entrepreneur in this room should read, because he tells his story of basically getting to the brink of bankruptcy to get Zappos going. I mean, he had already sold a successful company and had, I think he had $20 or $30 million, and he was just ready to sink it all into Zappos, right? And he did it, and he moved his company to Vegas, and he got all the employees to move to Vegas, all based on culture. The company became a family, and they became his family. And the company, as we all know, is doing pretty well. I actually visited Zappos. It was like 3 years ago. I went out there, and anyone can go there. Like they're in Vegas, and if you call them and you say you want a tour, they'll come pick you up from the hotel. They love telling their story. And I did a tour of the space, and I met Tony. I'm like, hi, I work for this little app company called Zynga. And he was like, yeah, nice to meet you. And he gave me a copy of his book, and I ended up buying 25 copies of it and giving it to everyone who managed an employee at Zynga when I got back. And then right after that, Mark Pincus said, you know what, we need to come up with our core values. And these are the core values that drive everything we do at Zynga. Build games people love to play. Meritocracy, which is a cornerstone of Zynga's success. Be a CEO. Whatever your employee is in charge of, they should feel that they're the CEO of that. So if it's an office manager in charge of picking out the phone system, they're the CEO of the phone system. Like, empower your people to succeed. Move at Zynga speed. Work at Zynga first, which has allowed us to really sort of grow and scale without a lot of ego. Zynga's like this big sort of flat pyramid that people work in. Innovation is big, and really surprise and delight of our players. So the last sort of hero of management that I want to talk about is a guy named Maslow. How many of you guys have heard of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs? All right. You're all saved from me going through each and every need. But what you may not know about Maslow and why he was so groundbreaking was Maslow didn't study screwed up people. Maslow was like the first psychologist who said, you know what? I want to study really successful people and figure out what makes them tick and see what I can learn and what I can give back to the world. And so he came up with his hierarchy of needs, which we all think about during product design and in managing our people. But I was looking for a way to use this thinking in managing people, and I was really hitting a wall until I read a book called Peak, How Great Companies Get Their Mojo from Maslow, written by this guy, Chip Conley, who actually runs a hotel chain. So it has nothing to do with technology at all. But he's a great entrepreneur. And so I'm going to walk away. Can you guys still hear me? So basically, this pyramid, at this base of the pyramid is here, it says money, then recognition, and then meaning. And on these axes, it says base motivation, creates loyalty, creates inspiration. So we've all had some job that you're either doing for the money or where the person's managing you from the survival place. You know, you make 7 sandwiches an hour or you're fired, or make this many sales calls or close this many deals. We've all had some job, I call them jobs, like something that we do just for money. If you manage your employees from this place, you will never be surprised in a good way. An employee will never come to you and say, I've got a great idea for totally revolutionizing our business or for improving process. It will not happen. You will be surprised when they one day don't show up for work and don't call or anything. You'll be surprised that how could they quit without 2 weeks notice? And it's because you manage them from the money place. So what we do at Zynga is we want to take this off the table. We pay people a fair wage and we get them stock options so that they're into the idea of what we're doing, right? Take it right off the table. Tony Say from Zappos, every employee that gets hired has a 1-month training period. Can you imagine hiring someone and then that you desperately need and waiting a month before they're actually doing work? During that month, every employee, whether they're a VP or a customer service rep, they go through a training program and they all have to read the same books. And at any point during the training period, if the trainer or the participant, if the trainer doesn't feel you're fit, they'll walk up to you and say, we don't feel you're fit. Here's a check for $2,000, thanks for coming. And if you're in the training and you're not feeling it and you don't think you want to join the Zappos family, you can raise your hand and say, I'd like out, and they'll still give you a check for $2,000 to leave. That's how committed that they are to their culture. So my message is, don't manage people from this place. If you catch yourself managing people in this place, stop it, because you've just become that guy. Like you've become that boss you had when you were 16. Don't do it. This next stage, which is really key, is creating a culture of recognition. So in your jobs, every day when you're managing people, there are all sorts of opportunities to recognize people for successes. And what you do is, whether you use Scrum and you're like, Johnny checked in 15 items, they're all big, or you talk about the shared schedule, you get people fired up and enthused and you recognize their good works, and then they want to come back for more. And work becomes like a game. It becomes like play, right? Think of it as, you're running around in Donkey Kong and you're jumping up and getting the gold coin. Only it's not money. It's just simple recognition. And so what I'd say to you is create this culture of recognition, and your employees then do something amazing. They start transforming themselves. They become inspired. So you'll be calling out an employee constantly, right? You're like, God, week after week, Emmy, you're just blowing me away. And then what'll happen is Emmy will come to you and say, you know what, Marcus, I have an idea for what I want to do next in the company. I know what I want to do next. This is it, right? And then you would be crazy not to take Emmy and give him that opportunity, right? Or if it's slightly off, maybe, say, hey, Emmy, you're a little off over here, maybe go this way. But you're going to end up giving that person, you're going to end up empowering them and giving them something new to do. Similarly, if you've got an employee that you're never calling out, that's never getting recognized, then you got to say to yourself as a manager, what am I doing wrong, right? Everyone wants to succeed. What position does this person belong in so that they can succeed? And how do I get them there, right? And if you try that and that doesn't work, then unfortunately that might be a time when you need to say goodbye to that employee. But it shouldn't be for lack of effort. because everybody wants to succeed at Zynga, and every single one of them has heard me talk about this pyramid, and I just call it out. I say, hey, look, this is it. Like, this is how Zynga works. There's no secrets. You know, the company is a meritocracy, and we level up 20 to 30% of our staff every quarter. Confucius invented the meritocracy. See, that could come up at a party, right? You know, I don't know what to tell you. I geek out on this stuff. I really like it. So what's our secret sauce? Like, how do we have fun and succeed and have profits? Well, it's really about process and values and meritocracy. That's what Zynga's about. And, you know, whether you're building a farm or a city, that's it. So I'll reveal to you that my OKRs for this presentation are to spread the use of Scrum, OKRs, values, and meritocracy as management tools in your companies. And so my first key result is delivering an engaging presentation in 20 minutes or pretty close. I want to convince 5 of you, at least, to try OKRs. And I'll be on the pub crawl. So if any of you want to talk about it, talk to me. And I'm hoping that within a year, one of the 5 companies will be back to talk about it and how they implemented it and how it worked. And that's really it, my friends. That's Zynga's success and how we've gotten there and what I've learned along the way. And I hope that all of you can put it to good use.